There's a conversation most men are too afraid to have out loud, but it needs to be said. When an older man is dealing with a younger woman, the dynamics are not what people like to pretend. Society tells you she has all the power because of her youth and beauty, but behind closed doors, the reality flips. If she's attracted to you, if she's curious about you, there are always subtle questions she'll throw your way to test if you're the man she actually wants to give herself to. Welcome back to the channel, where we strip away the polished fairy tales and deal with raw human nature. Men need clarity, not confusion. And the truth is that younger women rarely come right out and say, "I want to sleep with you." They won't risk rejection or their image. Instead, they probe, they test, they measure your confidence without ever admitting that's what they're doing. And if you miss those signals, you'll either friend zone yourself or worse, make her lose interest altogether. This video is not about playing games. It's about awareness. When you can recognize the exact questions younger women ask before crossing that intimate line, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop thinking it's all luck or timing, and instead understand that she's deliberately opening the door for you. The controversial part? Most men don't want to accept that the younger woman is the one chasing the older man, not the other way around. She wants your maturity, your control, your experience, but she won't say it outright. She'll ask you certain things, and if you answer correctly, not desperately, she'll know you're the man worth giving herself to. Stay tuned, because I'm going to break down the 3 questions you'll hear when she's ready. 1. Are you seeing anyone? When a younger woman asks an older man, "Are you seeing anyone right now?" It's not just small talk. It's not the same as a casual question a coworker might ask at lunch. This question has a very specific weight behind it. And if you're not tuned in, you'll miss the entire meaning. What she's really doing is feeling out her chances without exposing herself. She doesn't want to put herself on the line, but she wants to know if she has a clear path to you. Most men think this is an innocent question about your personal life. They'll answer it literally, going into detail about their dating history or even bragging about women they've been with. That's the fastest way to kill her curiosity. A younger woman isn't asking this to get your full romantic resume. She's trying to see if you're available without looking desperate. She's signaling that she wants to know whether she can make a move without running into competition or drama. The way you answer is everything. If you get defensive or over-explain, you instantly look weak. If you start boasting, you look insecure. The key is to be calm, direct, and even slightly mysterious. A confident man doesn't feel the need to lay out every detail of his personal life. Instead, he gives just enough to let her know the door is open, but not wide open. Something as simple as, "I keep my options open, but I'm not tied down," sends a strong message. It tells her you're not desperate, you're not hiding anything, but you also aren't waiting around for her approval. The controversial truth most men don't accept is that when a younger woman asks this, she's already considering sleeping with you. If she wasn't, she wouldn't care whether you were seeing anyone. Think about it. If you ask a woman if she's single, it's because you're trying to figure out if you have a chance. Women are no different. They just disguise it better. Her curiosity is a mask for desire. This is why older men need to recognize the difference between conversation and invitation. Too many guys treat every question as literal, when in reality, women communicate in layers. When she asks if you're seeing anyone, what she's really asking is, "Can I make a move on you without regret?" If you can pick up on that, you're already miles ahead of most men who fumble the moment. So the next time you hear this question, don't shrug it off and don't give her your life story. Understand that it's her way of opening the door. Your job is not to rush through it, but to stand firm, keep your composure, and let her curiosity pull her closer. That's how you turn a simple question into the beginning of intimacy. 2. How old are you? When a younger woman looks you in the eye and asks, "How old are you?" you might think it's just casual curiosity. Men often take this question at face value, either answering proudly if they feel confident in their age or dodging the number if they think it might turn her off. But here's what most men don't realize. When she asks this, it's rarely about the number itself. It's about what the number represents in her mind. You see, a younger woman already knows you're older. She can see it in your face, your demeanor, your confidence. What she's really measuring is whether your age lines up with the kind of experience she's secretly looking for. Younger women are often fascinated by older men precisely because of the maturity and authority they expect you to carry. To her, your age isn't a weakness, it's a potential advantage. She wants to know if you embrace it with pride or shrink away from it in embarrassment. Most men sabotage themselves by acting defensive. They laugh it off nervously, or worse, they try to act younger than they really are. That's the exact opposite of what makes an older man attractive. The power of age lies in owning it unapologetically. If she asks you how old you are and you respond with insecurity, you confirm her worst suspicion, that you don't see your value. But if you answer with calm confidence, you flip the script completely. Suddenly, she sees your age as a sign of stability, dominance, and life experience she can't get from the guys her age. Think about it. Women already deal with enough immaturity in men their own age. They put up with flakiness, insecurity, and indecision. When she seeks out an older man, she's not doing it by accident. She's curious about the confidence, the wisdom, and the control that comes with years of experience. That's why when she asks, "How old are you?" the worst thing you can do is act ashamed. If you can't even own your own age, how can she trust you to handle her attraction? A powerful response doesn't require overcompensation or bravado. It's as simple as stating your age with no apologies, and even adding something that frames it as an asset. Saying, "I'm 42, and I've learned more about women in the last 5 years than I ever did in my 20s, not only answers her question, but also highlights the advantage of being older. That kind of answer shifts the entire conversation. Instead of wondering if your age is a drawback, she begins to see it as exactly what makes you desirable. So remember, when a younger woman asks how old you are, she's not testing your math skills. She's testing your confidence. Show her that your age doesn't define you negatively, but instead amplifies your value. That's how you transform a simple number into an undeniable attraction trigger. 3. What do you want with women? This is the question that reveals everything. When a younger woman asks an older man, "What do you want with women?" she's not asking out of casual curiosity. She's asking because she wants to know exactly where she fits into your life. On the surface, it sounds like she's just trying to get to know you, but in reality, it's one of the most loaded questions you'll ever hear. And if you don't know how to handle it, you'll either scare her off or lock yourself into a role you never intended to play. Younger women ask this because they want clarity without having to spell out their own intentions. She may be interested in sleeping with you, but she doesn't want to risk looking reckless or easy. By asking you this question, she's flipping the responsibility back onto you. She's really saying, "If I give myself to you, will I regret it?" And she's testing whether your frame is strong enough to handle her attraction. Now, here's where a lot of men make mistakes. They think this is the moment to impress her with a perfect answer, so they start over-explaining. They'll say things like, "I'm looking for something serious. I'm not into games. I'm all about commitment," because they believe that's what she wants to hear. Others go the opposite way and announce that they just want something casual, thinking blunt honesty will show confidence. Both approaches usually backfire. Why? Because the real issue isn't whether you say serious or casual. It's whether you communicate strength, certainty, and control. What she wants to hear is that you know exactly what you want, and you don't need her validation for it. The answer doesn't have to be a rehearsed speech. It can be as simple as, "I enjoy being with women who know what they want and don't play games," or "I value connection, but I don't force labels." Statements like that keep you in the position of power while leaving her room to lean into you. Remember this, the younger woman is not necessarily looking for a relationship with you, she's looking for an experience. She's attracted to your maturity, your composure, and the way you carry yourself differently from men her age. When she asks what you want with women, she's trying to gauge if you're aligned with what she secretly desires. Excitement without chaos, intimacy without drama, and a man who knows himself. The key is not to let the question corner you. Don't rush to please her. Don't put yourself in a box. Be honest, but frame it with confidence and authority. When you do that, she'll stop doubting and start imagining herself as the woman who fits into your world. So the next time you hear this question, don't freeze up and don't over-explain. See it for what it is, a sign that she's already considering crossing the line. If you handle it right, her question won't just be curiosity. It will be the final step before she decides to act on her desire. 4. Why younger women chase older men. To understand why younger women chase older men, you don't have to look further than real-life stories that play out every single day. Let me give you a scenario. A friend of mine in his mid-40s went through a divorce a few years ago. He wasn't actively looking for anything serious. He just focused on his work, his health, and rebuilding his life. He carried himself with calmness, didn't chase women, and wasn't trying to compete with younger guys for attention. But here's what happened. At a social gathering, a 26-year-old woman who had known him casually through mutual friends started to orbit around him. She laughed at his jokes, asked him questions about life, and kept bringing up how refreshing it was to talk to someone who actually listened. Within weeks, she was the one suggesting dinners, texting him late at night, and pushing to spend more time together. Why? It wasn't because he was the richest man in the room. It wasn't because he had movie star looks. It was because, compared to men her age, he radiated stability and certainty. Younger women are surrounded by men who are insecure, unsure of themselves, and desperate for approval. An older man who is calm, self-assured, and unapologetic about who he is stands out like a beacon. This is where many men get it wrong. They assume youth is the only currency that matters in attraction. But the truth is, younger women often feel restless with men their age. They're tired of dealing with boys who can't commit to decisions, who are more concerned with Instagram likes than building a future, and who fall apart at the first sign of pressure. An older man represents the opposite. He embodies experience, emotional control, and a perspective on life that she craves. In the case of my friend, the younger woman openly admitted later on, "I just felt safe around you. I didn't have to question if you knew what you were doing. That's the heart of it." Younger women chase older men because of the security and excitement that comes from being with someone who knows himself. It's not about manipulating them or pretending to be something you're not. It's about embracing your maturity as a strength. So when you see a younger woman showing unusual attention, leaning closer, asking personal questions, or finding reasons to be around you, recognize it for what it is. She's not looking at you as just another man. She's looking at you as the man who can give her what the younger guys can't. That's why she chases. And if you know how to handle that with confidence, you'll never need to chase her. 5. Hidden tests in small talk. When a younger woman is interested in you, most of her questions won't sound like deep interrogations. They'll slip into the conversation casually, disguised as small talk. She'll ask things like, "Do you always come here?" Or "What do you usually do on weekends?" On the surface, these sound harmless, even boring. But underneath, she's running silent tests. She's measuring how you carry yourself, whether you're grounded, and most importantly, whether you give away too much or reveal weakness without realizing it. Here's where a lot of men go wrong. They treat these questions literally and respond with flat, uninspired answers. If she asks, "What do you do on weekends?" and you say, "Oh, nothing really, just watch TV," you've just killed her excitement. Not because watching TV is bad, but because the answer makes you sound uninteresting, routine, and easy to read. The same goes if you over-explain. If you launch into a long monologue about every single thing you do, she sees you as nervous and trying too hard to impress. Both extremes push her away. The right way to handle these hidden tests is with a balance of honesty and intrigue. You don't have to make up stories or pretend to live a life you don't. But you do need to frame your answers in a way that communicates energy, confidence, and a sense of movement. Instead of saying, "I don't really do much on weekends," you could say, "I like to keep weekends open. Sometimes I train. Sometimes I disappear into a good book. Sometimes I'll just get in the car and drive somewhere new." That kind of answer gives her a glimpse into a lifestyle that feels active and unpredictable, without you having to brag or exaggerate. Another mistake men make is turning the small talk into an interview. They'll take her simple questions and try to impress her with achievements or material possessions. She might ask, "Do you come here often?" And instead of keeping it light, He'll respond with something like, "Yeah, I'm a regular here. I know the manager. He always reserves me the best table." That's a turnoff. Why? Because it reeks of insecurity. She didn't ask for your resume. She asked to see how you handle casual conversation. The right way to answer is always with ease. If she asks if you come to a place often, something like, "Every now and then, but I usually prefer quieter spots," works perfectly. It shows preference, calmness, and self-control. Three traits that are far more attractive than trying to prove status. Remember, the small talk isn't really about the words. It's about what your answers reveal. If you respond with dullness, she feels bored. If you respond with arrogance, she feels turned off. But if you respond with calm confidence and just enough intrigue, she feels drawn to know more. That's how you pass the hidden tests most men fail. 6. Answering without losing power. When a younger woman asks you personal questions, whether it's about your age, your relationships, or your lifestyle, the real challenge isn't just giving an answer. It's giving an answer that keeps your power intact. Most men don't realize how easily they give that power away. They either talk too much, say too little, or deliver their words in a way that screams insecurity. If you're not careful, the way you respond can instantly flip the attraction switch off, no matter how good you looked before you opened your mouth. One of the biggest mistakes men make is over-explaining. A woman asks a simple question like, "Are you seeing anyone?" And suddenly the guy launches into a 10-minute history lesson about his dating life. He'll explain who he used to date, how things ended, what his friends think, and on and on. That kind of rambling doesn't make you sound honest. It makes you sound nervous and desperate for her approval. Over-explaining is a sign you don't feel confident letting silence or mystery work in your favor. On the other end of the spectrum, some men go cold and dismissive. She asks about their age or their weekend habits, and they shut it down with short, clipped answers like, "Doesn't matter," or "Why do you want to know?" While this might seem like a way to protect your frame, it usually comes across as defensive or rude. Instead of building attraction, it creates distance. The key is balance. You want to give answers that are short, confident, and just open-ended enough to keep her curious. Let's say she asks, "What are you looking for with women?" You could respond with, "I like spending time with women who know what they want. It keeps life interesting." Notice what that does. It doesn't box you into a corner, it communicates standards, and it leaves room for her to prove she fits the description. Tone and delivery matter as much as the words. If your voice sounds shaky or rushed, even a strong answer loses its impact. Confidence isn't just about content, it's about control. Speak slowly, make eye contact, and let your words land without rushing to fill the silence. The pause after your answer can be more powerful than the answer itself. It shows you're comfortable in your own skin and not desperate to be liked. Another way to keep your power is to redirect gently without dodging. If she asks a question that feels like a trap, you don't have to refuse to answer. You can shift the energy back to her. For example, if she asks, "How old are you?" you might say, "Old enough to know what I want, young enough to keep up." "What about you?" That flips the spotlight back on her while keeping the tone playful. Attraction isn't built by perfect answers. It's built by the energy your answers carry. When you respond with calm, controlled confidence, you show her that you're not just another man scrambling for approval. You're the man who can handle her curiosity without losing his frame, and that's exactly what makes her want you more. 7. Turning interest into intimacy. Once you've recognized the signals, passed the tests, and answered her questions without losing your power, the final step is turning her curiosity into something real. A younger woman can show signs of interest, ask the right questions, and even flirt openly, but that doesn't automatically mean intimacy will happen. The difference between the men she entertains for a moment and the man she chooses to be with comes down to how he guides the interaction from talk to connection. Here's where many older men trip up. They either rush the process or hesitate too much. Rushing makes you look needy, like you were waiting for her approval the whole time. Hesitating too much makes you look unsure of yourself, as if you don't know how to lead. Both kill the momentum. Turning interest into intimacy requires a steady hand. moving forward confidently without ever looking like you're begging for it. One of the best ways to bridge the gap is through physical presence. This doesn't mean jumping into her personal space uninvited. It means using small, natural gestures that escalate tension without forcing it. For example, when she laughs, lightly touching her arm as you lean in to share a comment, or if you're walking together, guiding her by the small of her back for just a moment. These gestures are subtle, but they send a clear message. You're comfortable being physical, and you're inviting her to be comfortable too. Another important element is setting the frame of intimacy with your words. If you keep the conversation stuck in safe, polite topics, she'll enjoy your company but never cross that line. Introduce playful teasing, subtle compliments, and statements that carry a hint of suggestion. For instance, saying, "You've got this energy that makes you dangerous in the best way," plants a seed in her mind that the dynamic between you is more than just casual talk. But here's the crucial part. Intimacy only happens when she feels it's her choice. Women, especially younger ones, want to feel like they're the ones deciding to step into that space. Your job as the older man isn't to push, but to create an environment where the decision feels natural. That's why maintaining composure is everything. If she senses you're anxious, waiting for her green light, she loses interest. If she senses you're confident, relaxed, and fully capable of walking away if nothing happens, she leans in harder. Turning interest into intimacy is not about manipulation. It's about leadership. It's about being the man who recognizes when she's opening the door and walking through it without hesitation or neediness. The younger woman is attracted to you because of your maturity, your ability to read the moment, and your comfort with yourself. Show her those qualities consistently, and intimacy becomes the obvious next step. Attraction is built in the mind, but intimacy is sealed in the experience. When you guide that transition smoothly, she'll never forget how you made her feel, and that's what keeps her coming back. At the end of the day, the questions younger women ask aren't random. They're signals, subtle doors she opens to see if you're the kind of man who deserves her attention. Older men who fail to recognize them end up talking too much, giving away power, or missing the moment entirely. But when you understand what those questions really mean, when you answer with calm confidence and let your maturity shine, you separate yourself from the pack. Attraction isn't about chasing, it's about leading. Remember, she tests because she's interested, and she follows because you lead.